The Place in the Sun ended, it left the audience feeling upset, guilty and unsettled. This happened for real, or if it was supposed to be like this. The audience started calling out things like, "You can do this. You are great. We support you." Every night they started calling out things to empower him. Then, when they realized that this was a part of the performance, they felt stupid. Some people got angry. They would get back to me saying things like, "You're not allowed to do this. You're breaking the contract with the audience. This is reality theatre. It's supposed to be real." What is reality theatre? What is reality and what is theatre? These are questions that interest me. And these questions have become the very bottom line of this project called Folkets Festspillescene, or the People's Stage, initiated by the Spring Festival in Bergen. Now, in 2014, the Spring Festival called me and said, "Hey Vi, do you want to create a borgerbyn, like Borgerteater? Citizen stage in Bergen?" The general idea of this kind of theatre is that we make theatre based on people's stories, and the storytellers are present on stage. So instead of having an actress or an actor playing a character, you have real people telling real stories from real life on stage. Is that theatre? Or is it real life? Now, we've produced 2 performances. In 2015, we produced a performance called Once Upon a Human Being. And in 2016, we produced A Place in the Sun. All the time, exploring the fine line between fiction and reality. And all the time, looking for new scenic expressions between what theatre is and what theatre can be. Now, I'm going to share some of my ideas about how to create this kind of theatre and how we create this kind of theatre. The model I made for Bergen is based on the Danish and German model, with storytelling workshops during the autumn and the creation of a performance during spring. The workshops allow me to recruit storytellers and to investigate different angles and different ideas for the performance to come. It also allows me to hear and listen to people's stories. What are they interested in? What occupies them? What are they dreaming about? Where do they come from? We invite people from various organizations, teams and groups to ensure that all sorts of people are present. All sorts of people are invited to come to our workshops. We also invite the audience at the national stage where we are based and the audience at the Spring Festival to attend the workshop. We use flyers, we use the radio, we use newspapers to recruit people. And in this way we are aiming to maintain what I'd call the democratic and social purpose of the art. From these workshops, I put together a group of storytellers that I invite to be a part of the process of making a performance. The storytellers play a very, very important part in the making of the performance. Everything on stage is inspired by them. The visuals, the costumes, the movements, the soundscape, and the theme of the performance is all coming from the storytellers, i.e., from the audience. To ensure the artistic value of the performance, I have a very highly skilled artistic team that follows the process and convert the stories into colors, into sounds, and into symbols. In this way, we try to turn the personal stories into something which is a more universal artistic expression. I find starting with a theme limiting. Both, if you start with a theme, I find that the result becomes one-dimensional or obvious even. Instead, I start with a group of people and I allow the theme to emerge from the people. This is a very time-consuming process, but the performance gets more complex and more interesting both for the people involved and the people watching. From February to May, I arrange a series of 30 workshops with the storytellers. I record everything they say, and then I transcribe the parts I find interesting exactly as they are told. After a while, I start to find patterns. Scenic ideas start to emerge. A woman talks about the ocean, a man talks about his favorite pub, a girl talks about a dream. They talk of music they like. They talk of what they would wear in a world with no fashion, with no rules. I start to get to know them, who they really are, when they don't pretend, when they are earnest. I get ideas for costumes, for set design, for sound, and for music. I start to see the bigger picture, and together with the artistic team, I create a script, putting their stories together, finding the points where the stories touch each other. Everything in the scripts is stories that have been told during the workshop. I've not invented anything, but I've cut the stories very carefully. Only the loaded lines are left, the lines that tell 1,000 stories. In this way, I create a new story using their stories. I do this with a great deal of respect for the storytellers and their story, never trying to change it completely or put it into a sequence where it suddenly means something completely different. Still, they very seldom get to tell the whole story, because in my opinion, the whole story is never very interesting. I usually take away most of the emotions as well. It's the audience who's supposed to feel. The people on stage are merely presenting hooks that the audience can put their feelings on, their stories. Because, in my opinion, that's really what a good performance is all about. The audience. It's about your memories, it's about your feelings, it's about your stories. And we take this one step further by putting the people on stage, by putting the audience on stage. So, are the people on stage actors? No. They're not. They are merely being themselves. In my opinion, that's the very key to this performance, this kind of creating a performance. Basically, as an actor, I always try to find those sweet little traits to make my character alive. You know, the nervous twitch, the tapping of fingers or tapping of a foot. This is what makes my character believable, what makes it alive. Now, my storytellers have all these qualities. Therefore, I'm very careful never to lose any of these beautiful traits. I was working with this theatre pedagogue, and one day I overheard her telling one of the storytellers to be aware of his foot. It was shaking as he was speaking. No, I nearly called out. No, because that foot is what made him beautiful. It's what made me love him, made us love him. The perfect actor is boring, it's obvious. We have moved to a new era. Today we cherish the imperfect. That's why we have reality TV and reality theatre, if you want to call it that. We don't want the perfect actor. We want the imperfect human being. That's what we are. And we want it to be about us. Perfect is fiction. Perfect doesn't exist. The point is, well, all I tell my storytellers is to talk without fear and listen without judging. In this way, we can create something beautiful. I want to equip my storytellers with self-confidence, the self-confidence they need to shine and to be present and happy on stage. I want them to stop judging themselves and tell their story with joy and honesty, because that's what presence is. And if you have presence, you are watchable no matter how much you twitch and turn. Having said that, I do help them to find their voice and to feel comfortable in their bodies. This kind of training we do, but I don't want to turn them into something they are not. The point is that who they are on stage is eventually more real than who they are out there in the world. Out there we try to fit in, we try to say the right thing, we try to do the right thing, we try to wear the right clothes. On stage you are free. You can be who you really are. So what is reality theatre? Let's go back to where I started to end with. Trond, he told you a story, and then he left stage. Was this real? I never invented it. It actually happened in one of the workshops. He left the workshop space. He went into the kitchen. I went after him to see if he was okay, and he was. It turned out that he had written down the whole thing. He fooled all of us. Now, he fooled all of us in the workshop, but when he wrote it, it was real. He had come home from his grandfather's funeral. He sat down to do a task that I had given to all the storytellers. But he couldn't do the task because there was too many thoughts, too many feelings. So instead of doing the task I'd given him, he just wrote down exactly how he felt in that moment and presented it at the workshop. I recorded it, and it became part of the performance as it basically summed up the entire play. Now, in my perspective, if you put something on a stage, it's never real. It will always be an illusion. Reality theatre is not real. But we are using reality as a starting point, hoping to create something that we can call art. The important thing is being earnest in what we do, in what we say, and in who we are. I believe that being earnest, in the very old-fashioned meaning of the word, is the very key to creation. And for this kind of theatre, it is viral. It is the only way we can create something that is real and raw. I find this way of creating extremely inspiring. These projects that we have done have been extremely time-consuming and exhausting, but they have also been the most rewarding projects I have ever done. From a creative point of view, these projects have inspired me to develop new ways of writing, new ways of acting, and new ways of staging theatre. And most importantly, it has inspired me to look at this world from a completely new angle. Now, my time is out. Trond and we will be here for the rest of the day and tomorrow, so please come and ask us questions if you want. Thank you for inviting us, and thank you for listening.